The spotlight was supposed to be her crowning moment. The Miss Universe Jamaica 2026 competition had reached its zenith, and Dr. Gabrielle Henry stood center stage, the newly placed sapphire and gold crown glinting under the arena lights. The audience was on its feet. Her family was weeping in the front row. And then, in a split second that no one saw coming, the platform beneath her gave way. A mechanical malfunction in the stage lift, later attributed to a faulty hydraulic seal, caused a 2-foot section of the floor to drop without warning. Gabrielle, still in her evening gown and 6-inch heels, plummeted off the stage into the orchestra pit, a fall of nearly 8 feet. In that moment, the newly crowned Miss Universe Jamaica became a trauma patient. The surgeon became the one fighting for her own mobility. To understand Dr. Gabrielle Henry in 2026, you have to forget everything you think you know about pageantry. This is not a story about a model who decided to pursue medicine to look good on a resume. It is a story about a trauma surgeon who won a national crown, survived a near-career-ending accident, and turned that catastrophe into a platform for her medical tech empire. Let's rewind to the moment before the fall. It was the crowning ceremony, held at the National Arena in Kingston. Gabrielle had just been announced as the winner. Her performance throughout the competition had been flawless, especially the national costume segment, where she wore a gown woven with fiber optics that mimicked the human circulatory system, a dress that pulsed with light, and featured a bodice resembling a ribcage made of Swarovski crystals. The audience had gasped then, too, but for her brilliance. Now, as she walked forward to accept her flowers, the stage malfunction occurred. She vanished from view, swallowed by the darkness of the pit. Panic erupted. Security rushed forward. She was taken to the University Hospital of the West Indies, the very institution where she had trained. The diagnosis: a comminuted fracture of the distal radius in her right wrist, 2 cracked ribs, and a severe concussion. Her dominant hand, the hand that had held a scalpel through hundreds of surgeries, was shattered. The following morning, as the world waited for her to withdraw from her duties, Gabrielle did something that shocked everyone. She requested that her own orthopedic colleague perform the surgery, and she insisted that it be filmed for training purposes. She said, "If I am going to be a patient, I will be a teaching case. Let the residents learn." The surgery was a success, but the recovery was projected to take 6 months. 6 months without operating. 6 months without being able to wave to her fans. 6 months during which her endorsement contracts, which stipulated public appearances, hung in the balance. But Dr. Gabrielle Henry had a plan. And that plan is where her net worth story takes a dramatic turn. Let's start with the number. As of 2026, Dr. Gabrielle Henry's net worth is estimated to be $14.8 million USD. But here is the twist. Nearly $2 million of that came directly from the aftermath of her fall. While she lay in a hospital bed with her wrist in a custom titanium brace, she negotiated a new deal with a major sports medicine company. They had approached her years earlier, but she had been too busy. Now, seeing her resilience and the global media coverage, they offered her a $1.5 million sponsorship to become the face of their advanced orthopedic recovery line. She accepted on one condition. The company would donate 500 of their rehabilitation devices to Jamaican public hospitals. The deal was signed from her hospital room. She also launched a GoFundMe campaign, not for herself, but for the stagehands who were blamed for the malfunction. She raised over $300,000 to cover their legal fees and lost wages, earning her a level of public goodwill that no advertising budget could buy. But the real money, the wealth that makes her the richest Miss Universe delegate to ever come out of the Caribbean, still comes from her medical tech startup, Project Phoenix. While she was completing her residency in trauma surgery at the University of the West Indies, Gabrielle quietly filed patents for a modular, sterilized, self-contained surgical pod that could be airdropped into disaster zones. She retained 100% equity. In 2024, 2 years before she entered the pageant circuit, she signed a distribution deal with a major international humanitarian organization. That deal came with a $4 million signing bonus, followed by annual residuals that have been climbing ever since. Even with a broken wrist, she continued to lead the development of the next generation of the pod, using voice-to-text software to communicate with her engineers. Now let's talk about how that wealth manifests, especially the mansion that became her recovery sanctuary. Dr. Gabrielle Henry lives in a fortress known locally as the Orchard. It sits on nearly 2 acres in the affluent neighborhood of Cherry Gardens, Kingston. To get there, you drive up a winding road lined with bougainvillea so thick it looks like a wall of magenta fire. The gate is recessed, operated by biometric security that she upgraded after the accident to include a private medical suite. The mansion is 8,200 square feet, with 6 bedrooms, each with its own en-suite bathroom. But what makes the Orchard extraordinary is the medical-grade air filtration system she installed throughout, a $200,000 investment. During her recovery, she converted one of the ground floor rooms into a full rehabilitation gym, complete with parallel bars, a zero-gravity treadmill, and a hydrotherapy pool. The cost of that renovation, $450,000. She didn't just do it for herself. She now opens it once a month to host physical therapy sessions for underprivileged patients who cannot afford private rehab. That generosity is a direct result of her own fall. Her car collection also reflects her journey. Her daily driver is a matte black Range Rover Autobiography, armored for security, worth $230,000. But the car that tells you most about her wealth is a vintage 1965 Jaguar E-Type Series 1, painted British racing green, worth over $500,000. She bought it after her wrist healed, as a celebration of her return to surgery. She told a friend, "I wanted to own something that feels like art." Inside the Orchard, the living room is dominated by a Steinway & Sons grand piano, $150,000, and a collection of contemporary Caribbean art worth over $2 million. One piece by Peter Dean Rickards is valued at $800,000. Gabrielle purchased it as an investment in cultural legacy. During her recovery, she spent hours sitting in front of that painting, practicing piano exercises to regain dexterity in her right hand. Music therapy, she called it. Her orthopedic surgeon called it obsessive discipline. Now, let's address the controversy that swirled around her fall. The tabloids whispered that she had faked the severity of her injury to gain sympathy and renegotiate her contracts. Others claimed she was using the accident to delay her Miss Universe duties. The rumors intensified when she was spotted at a private event just 3 weeks after the fall, wearing a stylish sling and laughing with friends. But those who knew the truth, the surgeons who had pieced her wrist back together, the physical therapists who watched her cry through exercises, knew that her rapid recovery was not a miracle. It was the result of a per-month rehabilitation regimen that she paid for out of pocket. She hired a former Olympic trainer, flew in a hand specialist from the United States, and dedicated 6 hours a day to therapy. By month 4, she was back in the operating room, assisting on a complex trauma case. By month 5, she was performing her own surgeries again. This brings us to the emotional core of her story. Gabrielle Henry's drive did not come from privilege. Her father was a carpenter. Her mother was a public school teacher. When she was 16, her mother was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder, and the medical bills nearly bankrupted the family. That experience forged her. She became a surgeon to fix a broken system. She worked 3 jobs during medical school and lived in a studio apartment with no air conditioning. The patent for Project Phoenix came from sketching designs on napkins during 24-hour hospital shifts. When the first licensing check cleared, she didn't buy the Jaguar. She paid off her parents' mortgage and set up a trust fund for her younger cousin's education. Then she bought the Orchard. Her lifestyle in 2026 remains a paradox. She wakes up at 4 a.m. to review clinical trial data before a photo shoot. She employs a personal chef for $80,000 a year to maintain an anti-inflammatory diet that supports her healing wrist. She wears custom Oscar de la Renta gowns for red carpets, but owns them only through loan agreements. A savvy financial move that keeps her cash liquid. Her genuine fashion investment is in high-end business attire and custom medical scrubs made from Japanese denim, including gifted items. Her closet is valued in the high 6 figures. Endorsements poured in after her comeback. She signed a 7-figure deal with a luxury watch brand, rumored to be Omega, worth $1.2 million annually. She has a telecom deal for $800,000. But she turned down a $2 million fast food offer, saying, "I cannot sell fried chicken to a population struggling with hypertension. The math doesn't math." That principled stance has made her both admired and criticized. She also owns a secondary property, a $2.4 million beachfront villa in Ocho Rios, purchased in cash. It sits on a private cove and serves as her recovery retreat. A 40-foot fishing boat worth $300,000 docks there. She uses it for spearfishing, which she calls therapy. No yacht. She calls them a liability. Let's break down the net worth. Approximately $6.5 million is tied up in intellectual property and equity from Project Phoenix and her pending patents. Real estate accounts for $5.6 million. The orchard at $3.2 million. The villa at $2.4 million, both mortgage-free. Liquid assets total $1.5 million, with another $1.2 million in stocks and bonds. Tangible assets, cars, art, piano, add roughly $1.2 million. Her annual cash flow from endorsements and consulting adds $800,000 to $1 million, but the most valuable asset she gained from her fall is something that doesn't appear on any balance sheet. A story of resilience that has made her a global icon. She now speaks at medical conferences and leadership summits about the psychological aspects of recovery, using her own experience to advocate for better mental health support for first responders. Her platform, once centered on pageantry, is now a pulpit for systemic change. Now, as she prepares to represent Jamaica at the Miss Universe competition in late 2026, she does so with a titanium plate in her wrist, a crown on her head, and a clarity of purpose that the fall only sharpened. She still operates 2 days a week at the university hospital. She still reviews patent designs in the basement lab. And when interviewers ask her about the accident, she says, "I fell so that I could learn how to get up. Now I teach others to do the same." This brings us to the question dividing the internet. Is Dr. Gabrielle Henry a role model or a symbol of unattainable privilege? Critics argue that her $14.8 million net worth and her ability to afford the best rehab in the world gave her an unfair advantage in recovery. They say that if she had been an ordinary Jamaican woman, that fall would have ended her career. Supporters counter that she built that wealth through innovation and hard work, and that she is now using it to fund free rehab clinics and medical devices for the poor. They see her as proof that success, when earned, can be a force for good. As she prepares to step onto the global stage in 2026, she carries the hopes of a nation and the weight of her own extraordinary expectations. The mansion in Cherry Gardens will be waiting when she returns. The Jaguar will be in the garage. The lab in the basement will be humming with the next big idea. But the question that remains, the question I want to leave with you, is this: in a world that often forces us to pick a lane, beautiful or smart, wealthy or charitable, ambitious or humble, Dr. Gabrielle Henry has refused to choose. She has taken all of it and forged it into something new. So I want to know what you think. Is Dr. Gabrielle Henry the future of pageantry? A woman who turned a devastating fall into a platform for global change? Or does her immense wealth distance her from the reality of the people she claims to represent? More importantly, do you believe she has what it takes to bring the Miss Universe crown home? Or will the judges view her as too powerful, too independent to fit the traditional mold? Let me know in the comments. Type Queen if you think she is an icon of resilience. Type Doctor if you believe her true calling is in medicine, not pageantry. I read every comment, and I'll pin the best ones to the top. While you're down there, hit like if you want more deep dives into the real net worth of the world's most fascinating celebrities, and subscribe with the bell so you don't miss my upcoming exclusive look inside the Orchard's underground lab. Because Dr. Gabrielle Henry's story is not over. It is just entering its most powerful chapter. The fall did not break her. It revealed what she was made of. And as she steps onto the global stage, wrist healed, crown secure, she carries with her the hopes of a nation and the proof that true wealth isn't measured in dollars or square footage. It is measured in the lives you touch, the systems you fix, and the grace with which you rise after the world watches you fall. Now, go ahead and tell me what you think. I'll be waiting.